As for the content of your question, which was, you'll have to remind me now.
Yeah, just like the effect that identity politics is having.
Well, it's making us mad.
Yeah,
isn't
exactly.
It's making us mad.
Yeah.
It worries me immensely. It's because you can see examples of the insanity all around. I mean, this country's got as good a dose of that as anyone. The real problem about it is that it's fragmenting people. You can feel it. I think it's going to make people retreat into tribes of all sorts of kinds, because the thing with identity politics is that people can play it back at you. You know, it's quite hard to see how to avoid it. If you can't just have one group having identity politics, and at some point I think this could get very, very nasty indeed. So I just. It's something I've been thinking and writing about a lot recently. I want people to stop this, but it's not enough to just point out the absurdities. You've got to provide the answers.
You've said, I think the idea of, in reference to America, you know, rather than sort of different groups in society only looking out for their own interest, we've lost sight of this idea. And I'll quote you: "I think the idea is sort of looking out for each other. That's surely the point of the Republic, and that point seems to have been lost." It's sort of what we're touching on here. Is that something that's possible to get back? And if it is, how do we do that?
I think it is, although the obvious ways in which that be got back are all unpalatable. I mean, the obvious way to have more sort of civic pride is war. I mean, Britain, America, and to some extent Australia have been running off the moral gains of World War II for a very long time now, and I think they've diminished. They've fallen off. Jonathan Haidt has mentioned this, among others, in his research. So the you know, it's not obvious how you create it in what is hopefully peacetime. One of the things you can do, I think, is to point people to the dangers of where they're going. And I do think you need to deconstruct the deconstructionists. You need to take it apart. And I mean, let me put it this way: the identity politics people and the intersectionalists who come from this have got this idea that basically if you line everyone up, society will fit in like that, like a sort of beautiful sort of piece of Lego or something, you know. And you'll get the gays and the women and black people and people of other racial minorities and people of other sexual minorities and so on, and these people have, and the whole thing will just beautifully meld like that. And I think there's already a massive amount of evidence. I mean, witness the so-called turf wars between trans-exclusionary radical feminists and other branches of feminism. I mean, if you were wishing them well, you'd be really worried at this point. But they're coming in like every other thing at this kind of angle, and so this thing isn't going to happen. It's coming in like this, and it's just causing, and is going to cause, the most ungodly mess for years. I mean, you can see, as I say, in these corners of the debate, the pain that's already existing, and it's just going to get worse because it doesn't work. It doesn't work. There are too many internal contradictions, among other things. I mean, just the internal contradictions are everywhere. They're so visible. You know, I mean, starting from the thing of, like, who's your leader? Who appoints the leader of this community? Who's the authority? Yeah. And, you know, we have this in the UK with, like every other country, with so-called, you know, representatives of various groups. And I really resent this, because I think your representatives are only the people who are representatives because they've been voted for. Yeah. So when people say to me, you know, who are the Muslim leaders? I say, well, I mean, it's the Muslims who we've elected as MEPs, members of the European Parliament, for instance, the Muslims who are members of Parliament in the upper house and the House of Commons. Many other realms of politics. Those would be the people. Why would a sort of self-appointed council of backwards people like we have in the UK and the Muslim Council of Britain and other things, why should those people be regarded as being leaders? Nobody voted for them. And I mean, that thing goes with every other movement. Self-professed leaders who have you know, no qualities of leadership, not least because they have no followers.